Hi, everybody. Welcome to Industry Connections. And today we have the team from Broadway Licensing. We have Jennifer Isaacson, who is the Director of Amateur Play Licensing, and Zach Dulli, even though it says Jennifer under his face, but that's not really. And he is the Director of Musical Amateur Licensing. So they've got a lot to share with you today, a lot of new news from Broadway Licensing, and I'm going to turn it over to them.
Great. Well, thank you, Jill. So everybody, we're so happy that you've joined us today. We are looking forward to not just telling you some updates about Broadway licensing, which we do have some good updates, but also to kind of picking your brain a little bit and hearing some of the ideas and maybe some of the wrong ideas that licensing company like ours may have about the community theater market. So what we're going to do, though, is jump right in. So again, as Jill said, hang on one second. Sorry, 1 second. I apologize. All right, there we go. So again, as Jill mentioned, my name is Zach Dulli and Jennifer Isaacson, and we are the amateur licensing directors for Broadway Licensing. So if there is anything that you are interested in the future, anything you hear today, please reach out to us. Our contact information is on the screen, but it'll also be on the very last slide that we have as well. So you'll be able to get that if you don't have a chance to get it right now. So just to give you a little run of what we're going to do today, we're going to start with community theater fact or fiction, and I'm going to let Jen talk about that in just a second. And then we're going to just give you some great updates from Broadway Licensing. Jennifer's going to show you some new play highlights that are part of our catalog now. I'm going to do the same with musicals. And then we're both going to talk a little bit about some of our holiday titles in case you're considering licensing a holiday show this year. So with that, I'm going to pass this over to Jen, who is going to take us through community theater fact or fiction. And for this, before I hand it over, make sure you have your chat ready if you're on Zoom with us. All right, Jen, over to you.
Thank you, Zach. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to chat with you. So as Zach said, on the licensing side, there are certain preconceived notions that sometimes licensing companies might have about community theaters. And so we have a few fact or fiction statements that we'd like to share with all of you and kind of get your feedback. We want to hear, is this true? Is this fiction? Is this fact? And just getting some feedback from you all about what it is that motivates you, what it is that drives you, what your pain points are, and what excites you about new titles. So as Zach mentioned, have your chat function ready. I'm going to make this statement and then in the chat, type if you think that statement is fact or fiction, or if it's somewhere in between, you can say somewhere in between. Any comments you have, we'll be taking those kind of at the end of each question as well, just to have a little bit of a dialogue. And so we will move into the first question. Zach, if you can pull up my first statement.
All right.
Fact or fiction. Okay, so fact or fiction. Community theaters want to produce large cast shows. Is that, in your experience? All right, I got one fiction. A lot of things, somewhere in between from Julie. All right. Fiction. Wait for a few more votes to come in. Fiction, we can barely cast small. All right, good to know. Thanks for that feedback, Kay. Fiction not only, thank you, Kim. All right, any other votes? Seems like this is a big fiction. All right, because sometimes in our discussions, we make some assumptions that community theaters have an excess number of actors and that you want to have big shows so that everyone can participate. But it's good to kind of hear that this is not always the case. And so one of my follow-up questions, I guess, what is an ideal cast size for you guys? If you had, like, when you're reading shows, when you're looking for new plays or musicals, actually you can divide it up. So you could say, what's your ideal cast size for plays? And what's your ideal cast size for musicals? Do you guys love two-handers, four-handers, anything under 8? That's always kind of the magic number. You know, when I was coming up, you know, I started out my career working off Broadway, and we were always told that the magic number for an off-Broadway show is a cast under 8 or less. That was always kind of the magic number. So any feedback on ideal cast size that anybody wants to share when you're looking for shows? Just pop it in the chat. All right, not seeing any no cast size comments. All right, we can move. Oh, there we go. Totally depends on time of year, title, and other factors. Plays 7, musicals 19. Plays, okay, Sherry's saying plays 4 to 6. Rarely do musicals, but 8 to 10 when we do. All right. Okay, this is great. Great, thank you guys so much for this feedback on this one. It seems like it's definitely kind of the under 8 rule for plays, and then musicals somewhere in that 8 to 20 kind of range. That's really helpful to know. All right, oh, you won one more. Depends on so many factors. Plays 8 to 12, musicals 12 to 30. All right, theater for young audience, 12 to 40. Yeah, no, that's the thing that we see a lot too, is like anything with a young audience, especially if there's kids in the show, not just for a young audience, but with young performers, that having tons of roles is always kind of the option there and the preference. All right, great. This is so helpful. All right, so next statement from Isaac. All right, so next question we have for you guys. Fact or fiction, we can't or won't, so this is a little kind of can go either way, produce shows that are considered too edgy or political. You could also kind of phrase that as it's difficult to maybe, all right, fiction. All right, Anita, right off, starting this off. If you want to clarify, you can clarify too. All right, Jamie's saying fiction. 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 All right. I'm glad to hear this.
Me too.
Because sometimes we have these conversations where we're like, okay, all right, Sherry's saying that is our strength, anything cutting edge. So totally fiction. That is good to hear, because I think sometimes in some of our conversations, there is a strong preconceived notion that community theaters are looking for titles that are safe, that aren't too edgy, don't really push the boundaries. And I think that's something that we definitely want to kind of clear up, especially as we're getting so many great new titles that have a little more bite to them, a little more something to say. You know, we want to keep kind of getting more of those titles and pushing them out, licensing them to you guys. So this is really helpful to hear. All right. Zach, if you could pull up my next statement for me.
You got it.
Okay, so fact or fiction, shows that were produced on Broadway are more appealing to produce on a community theater level. That could be, maybe it makes it easier for you to market, easier for you to sell tickets, your audience is a little more engaged, it brings a new audience. Does it matter if a show was on Broadway? Fact or fiction? True, because they're more recognizable from Kay. Very true. For musical, all right, Jamie's saying for musicals often, for plays fiction, okay. Sherry's saying fiction, we like tackling new works to avoid preconceived notions. Interesting, all right. Nita's saying somewhere in between, if they are recognizable. So it's a little mixed. It's a little like kind of across the gambit there. Because there is that recognizable nature of it. If it's been on Broadway, it's got this big name recognition, but then also wanting to do new works and do something new, maybe something that hasn't already come through your town on tour that everybody already saw. I could totally see that as well. All right, great. Thank you guys so much. All right, Zach, do you want to pull up the next
Sure.
See it for me? Okay, this one I'm really curious to hear the answers. And if you want to pop in, if you say fact or fiction on this question, say also where you're located, if you feel like sharing that as well. So fact or fiction, the local talent pool makes producing shows with a diverse cast more challenging. Fact or fiction? And this could be for plays, musicals. Fact. Okay, so Jamie says fact, located in rural Nebraska. Fact. Anita's saying fact, and also in Iowa in the Midwest. Julie's saying fact as well. Sherry, fact, located in white suburbia. Yes, that makes it difficult. Yeah, because that's one of the conversations we have quite a bit when we're looking to acquire shows, and when we're looking to market shows to you guys, and what shows would be of interest. It's like, yes, you want to do edgy work, or work that's by diverse authors and playwrights, but then sometimes there's that component of, well, can we cast the show that has a very diverse cast, and what are the challenges? All right, Kay saying fact in my area, not a diverse retirement community in Florida. Got it. Because that's always a challenge, like wanting to do diverse work, but then do you have the local talent pool to do it as well? So this is really helpful to know. All right, great.
Great.
Okay. Zach, can I bring up the next statement?
You got it.
All right, so this is kind of more of a question about your individual theaters and their pain points. So the fact or fiction, the number one pain point for community theaters is funding. How much is funding kind of factor into how you think about your programming? It as a pain point, as as you're programming your season, how high up on the list is this? All right, Janie, right away, fact. All right, any other votes for this? I'm gonna say, we're guessing that it's a big pain point. We know it's a big pain point across all the theaters, professional theaters, regional theaters, even in New York. All right, Sherry, Katie's saying fact, 60% of our decision for a show is based on potential revenue. So very, it weighs heavy then in terms of what you're planning, what you're picking out. Sherry saying we only rely 10% on outside funding, but we've been around for 67 years. All right,
Nice.
it's a long time. Congratulations. Yeah, so it seems like funding is a big factor, and also it's a factor as you're thinking about what you're going to program. So that kind of goes into like a little bit of the question about picking recognizable titles, picking titles that can maybe draw an audience, but then also wanting to keep that smaller cast too. So it's kind of seeing how all of those factors kind of interplay. All right, Zach, was there another statement?
No, that's it for these, although we do have two bonus questions. These are not really fact or fiction, but they are questions that we were interested in hearing from you about. So the first of these is simply, have you ever considered producing a parody musical? And by parody, right now off Broadway, Friends, the musical is running. There's The Office, the musical is running. And so my question is, have you ever done a show like this? And if we have those to license, do you think this would be something that your audience would enjoy? All right, we have a maybe. Oh, thank you for your comment too, Kim. We really are thinking just overall about your budget. How much are you really getting from the ticket sales, and how much is that affecting your decision for that last question? But I appreciate the comment. So, yes, depending on what's being parodied. Cool. The parody shows are really interesting. They're sometimes they bring a lot of that name recognition that we always want to help sell our shows, but at the same time, sometimes they, because they're not always exactly like the show, sometimes that can be challenging for people. So in a smaller space or as a new audience driver title, great, wonderful. Anybody else have any comments related to producing a parody musical? Awesome. All right, well, I'm going to move on to the next question, but if you have comments, still put them in the chat for us. All right, so our last bonus question here is, this is really for you to tell us, what do you wish we understood about your theater? And by we, I mean the licensing company, so Broadway Licensing. What is it that you wish that we understood that maybe you think we don't? So drop those in the comments. This could be anything, could be a number of things, but this is, really, one of the things that we do like to work with theaters on is to just find out really, what are some of these pain points, and also, what are some of the maybe other misconceptions that you think we might have about you that we can, at least help try to clear up. I have a feeling this is going to take a little bit. This could be a lot from people. So if you want to add this to the comments, please do that. If not, you can also email Jen and I if you have more comments or lots of comments, and we would love to get those. And even if maybe having a conversation later down the road is interesting, we really do want to learn more about you and find out how we can better support you.
Well, it looks like there was one comment, all right, from Sherry.
Great. So the proximity to Chicago often makes licensing an issue. Yep. We had to postpone a show from last year, and now we can't get the rights. Yeah, Sherry, that is disappointing for us as well. The pandemic, of course, has made that something that we are dealing with from coast to coast and across oceans too, because there have been so many delays and postponements. And then that sometimes can run up against professional productions that are in the area. Unfortunately, that does happen. It's kind of par for the course, but we are trying to work with more of our authors to make some of the restrictions that are in place, to let them have a little bit more flexibility with them, so that we can work with more theaters and get more shows produced. Because I think you'd probably agree that a production in your theater, it's probably not going to affect the ticket sales of a city 50 miles away that has a much bigger theater with a touring company or something. So but that is something we do hear quite a bit. Awesome. All right, well, I'm just to keep us moving, I'm going to move on, but I do want to let you know, please keep putting those comments in the chat. And like I said, we really appreciate your feedback here. We always are looking for that. So again, anytime in the future, if there's any thing you think we should know, please reach out to us. Jen and I are always happy to get to talk to theater leaders like yourselves. So, all right, so let's move on. All right, so right now we're going to talk about some of the latest news from Broadway Licensing. And one of the biggest, most exciting events that has happened to us just in the past few weeks is that we have acquired stage rights. And if you are unfamiliar with stage rights, you probably know it, but it's been around since 2000. Has a catalog of over 240 titles, musicals and plays that are now happily part of the Broadway licensing family, which also includes play scripts and dramatist play service as well. So we are really happy to have this collection of plays and musicals in our catalog, and we're happy to get to share them with you as well. So I'm going to go through just a few musicals that I'm excited about that are new to Broadway licensing from the stage rights catalog. So all right, so The biggest show, of course, which you may or may not be aware, but I'm assuming most of you are aware, is the Marvelous Wonderettes. Marvelous Wonderettes comes to us. It's written and directed by Roger Bean, who also used to run Stage Right. So this is a show that's very near and dear to his heart, but it's a show that I've known for a long time and I'm really happy to have as part of our catalog. Again, it's a smaller show, just 4 women, and just the band size of only 5. So this is a jukebox musical, and it was a hit off Broadway. It takes place in 1958 during the prom. The 4 actresses, the 4 characters in the show, they sing about their love, their life, and sort of what they want their future to be. It's got amazing songs, over 30 classic songs from the 50s and 60s, including, Lollipop, Dream Lover, It's My Party, Leader of the Pack. So it's just a fabulous show. It was a hit in every city that I've been in where it was playing. So this is definitely one, if you're looking for a smaller show, but one that does pack an audience in, Marvelous Wonderettes is a great one. And then one of the other things that I'm really excited about with Stage Rights is that it also has quite a few jukebox shows, some jukebox reviews, some jukebox musicals, but again, smaller casts, great shows that are fun to produce, and again, have a lot of great music and bring in an audience. So just a few of those. We have Honky Tonk Angels, 8-Track, the Andrews Brothers, and my personal favorite, because I'm a big Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin fan, is the Rat Pack Lounge. And so all of these shows have just a cast under 5. Actually, the Andrews Brothers, I believe, is just 4. And 8-Track, I believe, is 4 as well. Honky Tonk Angels is 3. And the Rat Pack Lounge is 5. So it is a great catalog. This is just a little taste for you of some of the shows that are now available from Broadway Licensing. So please let me know if there's anything here that you're interested in, or if you find anything else from the Stage Rights catalog that you'd like more information about. Just reach out to Jen and I, and we'll be happy to get you a perusal. So with that, and that's really the biggest news that we have here to share, I'm going to pass this over to Jen, who's going to talk about some of our newly acquired plays. All right, Jen.
Thanks, Zach. Yeah, so I just wanted to chat with you guys a little bit about some of our newer titles, as well as highlighting some other titles that may be of interest to you. So the first, I'm going to kind of break this down into categories. So the first category is small cast thrillers with name recognition. So this kind of hits the needing a small cast, thriller, something kind of exciting, gets an audience in the doors, also has that name recognition. So first up is Misery by William Goldman, based on the Stephen King novel. What I love about it, it's a small cast of 3, 2 men, 1 woman, full-length thriller. And Misery follows the successful romance novelist Paul Sheldon, who is rescued from a car crash by his #1 fan, Annie Wilkes, and he wakes up captive in her secluded home. And if you've read the novel or you've seen the 1990 film, then you know where the story goes from here. This play is a direct adaptation of the 1990 film, which was adapted from the novel by William Goldman as well. Very faithful adaptation, yet it is very theatrically effective. I think it's a good adaptation. So that's now available to the non-pro market. This had rolled out first to our pro market, where really was a great success. So there are still a few restrictions here and there in certain markets, but just reach out to us. We can kind of tell you what's available, what's not available in your area. And if it's not available, I just kind of wanted to highlight, if I may, another title that is also a thriller that has a small cast. This is a little bit more of a classic title we've had for a little bit, but it's Death Trap by Ira Levin. Small cast of 5, 3 men, 2 women. 2/3 a thriller, 1/3 a devilish clever comedy. It's also about a writer who is struggling, but with a different issue. So kind of, and also like Misery, it's also based on a film, has that little bit of name recognition. So it was a 1982 film starring out Michael Caine and Christopher Reeve. So it's got kind of got that name recognition as well. So when I wanted to highlight those 2 for you guys. And then the next category I wanted to talk about is diverse cast shows that are direct from Broadway. So these are some shows that were on Broadway this past season, now available for licensing. So first up is Thoughts of a Colored Man, which is by Keenan Scott II. It's a decent sized cast of 7, all men, flexible set, really strong ensemble piece. I've seen this show twice. I saw it in Baltimore, saw it on Broadway. Really fantastic, strong storytelling. It's kind of told in a slam narrative, and Thoughts of a Colored Man celebrates the hopes, ambitions, joys, and triumphs of Black men in a world that often refuses to hear them. So it's a really great piece. It's got a little drama, it's got some comedic moments, but it's definitely got a bite to it. Really strong writing, now available for pro and non-pro licensing. So there are some restrictions here and there, but please reach out to us. If you want a perusal of this, want to take a look, happy to share that with you. And then another show that was on Broadway and is hilarious is Chicken and Biscuits by Douglas Lyons. Cast of 8, 3 men, 5 women, full length, laugh out loud comedy. I cannot stress to you enough how funny this show is. It's been called a hysterical, blazingly funny comedy in the reviews. It takes place during a funeral when rivaling sisters try to bury their father without killing each other. And then the 2 sisters are kind of faced with the truth that could either heal or break them. So it's got that family drama element to it. Perfect ensemble piece to highlight comedic talent. Really, really a fun piece, really a funny show. Happy to send a perusal for this if you guys want to take a look. So that's that category. And then next we have some more exciting new Broadway and off-Broadway shows. So these are shows that were recently on Broadway or off-Broadway, and now are kind of rolling out to the non-pro market. First up, we have Grand Horizons, which you may have heard about, by Bess Wool, cast of 7. So this is 4 men, 2 women, full-length drama. So the basic gist of the story, if you're not familiar, it's 50 years into their marriage, Bill and Nancy want a divorce, and why they seem very unfazed by their decision. Their 2 adult sons are shaken to the core. And it kind of is about all of the family dynamics that come out of that. It's a really funny comedy, and it's about marital malaise. But it's definitely a crowd-friendly comedy. It's very smart. It definitely has a lot of bite to it as well. It has a great intergenerational, cross-generational cast. Really fun play, really excellent writing. And then the next play is one of my personal favorites. This was the Half-Life of Marie Curie by Lauren Gunderson, who is a very beloved playwright. Many of you may be familiar with her work. What I love about this play, especially, it's a cast of 2 women, flexible set, full-length historical drama. So this is set in 1912. It's right after Marie Curie wins the Nobel Prize, because we always kind of hear about her triumphs, but this is actually what happened in her life right after that, kind of during a lesser known time when she was the object of really ruthless gossip over an alleged affair that she had with a married man. And she was hounded by the press and kind of had to seclude herself. And she ends up joining her friend and colleague, Haritha Ayrton, who is an electromechanical engineer and a suffragette. And it's really about it's about the power of female friendship as it explores the relationship between these 2 brilliant women, both of whom are mothers, widows, and kind of fearless champions of scientific inquiry. So really strong piece about 2 strong historical women, small cast. But those are some of the shows we wanted to highlight on the play side, and I'll flip it over to Zach to talk about the musicals.
Great. So I'm going to give you just a little heads up on a couple musicals that are just coming out. Just so if you're thinking about them, you can put them on your radar. The first one is actually one that we've created at Broadway Licensing, and it is the official bio of Elvis. This is a show that actually just had one of its first professional productions in St. Louis, I believe, just last month, and it got great reviews. It really does tell the life of Elvis Presley from being born in Tupelo, Mississippi, all the way up through the 1968 comeback special concert that he put on. So it's a fabulous show. It has pretty much every, over 40 Elvis hits, which is almost all the number ones, including, That's All Right, All Shook Up, Heartbreak Hotel, Burning Love, Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel, Jailhouse Rock, Blue Suede Shoes. So it's pretty much got everything. So if you love Elvis, this is a great show. It's probably one that hasn't been done in your area yet. So it's also got that great opportunity with it. And it's just a really exciting show that we're really looking forward to seeing getting produced more places. And then the next one is just a little sneak preview. This is really just something I'm letting you guys know who are on here with us. But we do have another show, and you may love it, you may not, but I got to see it on Broadway, and I actually was even more surprised. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was, and then by the end I loved it, and that is Diana. So Diana the musical, it is on Netflix. I will say the Netflix version, from what they did there to actually the final product that was on Broadway is a little different, but it's a really fun, interesting show and an interesting take on the life of Princess Diana. So these are both new shows. Diana will be available shortly for licensing. Elvis is available. So I would consider, thinking about both of these shows. And again, I'm happy to send out perusals if you're interested. And then I just was also going to just highlight a few other shows. These are shows that, really came out in the last few years, especially because of the pandemic. Sometimes, some of these shows sort of got missed when people were thinking about shows to consider. So the first one, of course, is Head Over Heels. This is by the Go-Go's. It's just a really fabulous show, has all the go-go hits in them that you know. And it's got a great, strong women cast. So that is one show that has been getting done a lot of places around the country. But if your theater hasn't done it, you should definitely consider it. And then the next one is another one that came out with us. This was on Broadway. It's A Bronx Tale, the musical. This is based on the Chaz Palminteri film and actually the one-person show that he put on. It's a great show, really heartfelt, and it was a really fun. I loved it on Broadway, and so I think this is something that especially for specific theaters, this could be a real big hit for you. And then finally, this one we just actually moved from another licensing company, but now it is home with us, and that is Saturday Night Fever. So obviously, this is based on the movie that starred John Travolta, but this is the musical. This was on Broadway, and so now that is part of the Broadway licensing family. So if you are interested in any of these shows, please let me know, and I'll be happy to send you over a perusal. All right, and finally, we are just going to give you a few holiday shows to consider. So one of my personal favorites, and one that is starting to get done more and more, is All Is Calm. If you are unfamiliar with All Is Calm, it takes place in 1914, and it really starts when a soldier wanders into the no man's land and begins singing Silent Night, and sort of that this one night kind of breaks down the barriers so that both sides really celebrate the holidays. It's just a really beautiful piece, and one that if you're looking for a holiday show, I would definitely consider. And I'm going to bring all these up here, and then I'm going to pass this over to Jen, who can talk about one, and then we'll come back to me. Jen.
Yeah, I'll talk about the two plays that are up on the screen, then kick it back to you, Zach. So two holiday plays we just wanted to highlight for you guys. First is The Wickhams, which is Christmas at Pemberley, by Lauren Gunderson and Margot Melkon. So you might know this is a companion piece to Miss Bennet, also by the same writers, and it's once again bringing Jane Austen's beloved characters to the stage for a Yuletide sequel to Pride and Prejudice. And whereas Miss Bennet depicted the newlyweds, Darcy, the Darcys coming together, gathering on the ground floor of the Pemberley estate, the Wickhams takes the audience to the downstairs, to the servants' quarters for the same celebration. So it's kind of two sides of one story, a kind of upstairs, downstairs moment. And this is a cast of 7, 3 men, 4 women, full-length Yuletide romantic comedy. And The Wickhams it's a very charming holiday tale that explores the confines of class and generosity and forgiveness. So really great holiday story there. And then I wanted to highlight a brand new acquisition, like brand new as of it just happened. It's still so hot. So this one is a Sherlock Carol by Mark Shanahan. It's a cast of 8, 5 men, 3 women. So it's 2 beloved classic tales in one thrilling mystery. It's a really heartwarming holiday tale. It's for all ages. So basically it's the story of when a grown-up Tiny Tim asks Sherlock Holmes to investigate the peculiar death of Ebenezer Scrooge. It's the colliding of these 2 beloved stories into one. So this is a brand new acquisition. As I mentioned, it's being rolled out right now. So there might be some restrictions, holdbacks on this, but it's a really fantastic new play that we have and that we're offering kind of for the holiday season as you're doing any holiday planning coming up for this year or next. And then Zach, will turn it over to you for the other musicals on the screen.
Great. So the last two are, the first one is Christmas Over the Tavern, and this is a family musical that has a family of 6, and actually it takes place in 1959. They're living over a tavern, and they kind of come on some hard times, but it's actually ends up being really funny. And the songs, there's dream sequences, but really it's about a family coming together to understand the deeper meaning of what it means to actually be a family, and also getting through the stress of the holiday. So again, that's a 6-person main cast with an ensemble, but a great show if you are looking for a different holiday show for this year's holiday spot. And then finally, I just want to put up, because again, now it is a part of our catalog, Marvelous Wonderettes has several other shows related to it. So if you had a hit with the Marvelous Wonderettes in the past, there's several other different versions of Marvelous Wonderettes, but for the holidays, Winter Wonderettes is available. Again, it's very similar to Marvelous Wonderettes, but this one's all about Christmas. So again, if that's something you're interested in, just as a cast of 4, I would definitely consider Winter Wonderettes as well. So with that, I'm going to put up our contact information here for Jennifer and myself. If there was any of these shows that you're interested in, you want to learn more, you have more questions about, please reach out to either of us. Plays, please reach out to Jennifer, and for musicals, please reach out to me. And we're happy to answer any of those questions. We're happy to get you a perusal if you'd like one of any of the shows. And we also, like I said before, are happy to take any other additional comments or anything you didn't want to put in the chat, or if you want to take some time and think about it, please send it to both of us. So with that, I think I don't know if we have any more time for questions, but I think if there's anything anybody has, we're happy to answer that now. And with that, I think we will pass it back over to Jill.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer and Zach. This has been terrific, and it's so nice to see some of your newer acquisitions and get such a good explanation of what they're about. That's always helpful to people that are doing their search for the next season. So I encourage all of you to reach out to Jennifer and Zach if you do have questions. So nice to be able to put faces to names and who you can work with in the process of getting good productions for your theater. And also thank you all for participating today. We've just started our Industry Connections up again, so they're happening once a month, and we hope you'll join us for them. Check out the AACT website to see what's still coming up, and enjoy working with Broadway Licensing and all their new acquisitions. So thanks for being here, everybody, and we'll see you next month or at another webinar. Take care.